Have you ever noticed that the second you say the word wedding, the prices for everything, cakes, venues, flowers, just seem to, well, magically inflate? It's this super strange and, let's be honest, really frustrating thing people call the wedding tax. So let's dive in. We're going to try and figure out why saying I do can feel like you're walking straight into a financial trap.
Okay, let's start with a super classic example. Picture this. You call a baker, right? You need a cake for 100 people, say, for a big family party. They quote you, I don't know, 400 bucks. Sounds reasonable. But then you mention it's for a wedding. And suddenly, that exact same cake is now $800. What's the deal? It's the same size, same baker, same everything. And look, this isn't just some made-up story. This is the frustrating reality so many couples run into.
So that right there, that's the wedding tax. And to be clear, it's not a real tax from the government or anything. It's more like this unofficial surcharge that just gets slapped onto pretty much everything the moment you mention you're planning a wedding. It's a crazy market reality where just one little word can literally double the price, often for the exact same thing.
All right, so let's get into it. The big question is this just vendors being greedy, or is there something else going on here? We're going to unpack this whole price hike by looking at it from two different angles: the psychology behind why we pay, and the economics of the market itself.
So it turns out a huge part of this whole wedding tax thing, it actually starts right here, in our own heads. It's pretty wild how our emotions can work against our wallets. Think about it. The entire industry pushes this once-in-a-lifetime idea, right? That creates this intense pressure, this fear that we'll regret it if we don't go all out. Then you throw in the social pressure to have this perfect, Instagram-worthy day, and suddenly what happens? Our ability to say, whoa, that's too expensive, just kind of goes out the window. This leads to what's called the halo effect, where a wedding photographer just sounds and feels more valuable than an event photographer, even if it's literally the same person with the same camera.
Now, on the flip side, let's look at the economics. It's really a perfect storm for sellers. The demand for weddings is what economists call inelastic. That's just a fancy way of saying that, look, even if prices go way up, people are still going to get married. They're determined to have that special day, and they'll figure out a way to pay for it. And vendors, they know this. So they can strategically segment the market, offering these premium wedding packages. Plus, you've got limited supply. The best venues, the top photographers, they get booked up way in advance, especially for those popular Saturday dates. It becomes a classic seller's market, where they really hold all the cards.
Okay, but to be fair, we got to look at this from the vendor's side too. They'll tell you a wedding is absolutely not just another party. The amount of client service is way more intense. We're talking countless emails, extra meetings, last-minute changes. It's a lot. Plus, for many of them, the work is super seasonal, so they have to make most of their year's income in just a few short months. And maybe most importantly, the stakes are just astronomical. There are no do-overs for a wedding, right? If something goes wrong, it's a disaster. So from their point of view, that higher price isn't some made-up tax. It's compensation for higher risk, way more effort, and the incredible pressure of making sure someone's once-in-a-lifetime day is absolutely perfect.
All right, so we've heard the psychology and the economics from both sides. But talk is cheap, right? Where's the actual proof? Let's follow the money and look at some hard numbers that really show this wedding tax in action.
Okay, just take a look at these numbers. We're talking about the exact same venue, same food, same service. For a corporate gala, Venue A charges $120 per person. But for a wedding, that price jumps to $180. That's a 50% markup just for saying the word wedding. And you see the same thing with Venue B. It's the same story. The product itself hasn't changed at all, but the label changes everything.
And this pattern just keeps going, especially with photography. I mean, look at this. A photographer might charge $500 for a normal portrait session. For a full-day corporate event, maybe that goes up to $1,500. But for a wedding day, the price just leaps to $4,000 or even more. And yeah, sure, there's more work involved, but a jump like this, it goes way, way beyond just a few extra hours of editing.
And then, of course, there's the wedding gown. This one is a classic. You can find a truly incredible formal gown. We're talking a high-quality fabric, intricate design, professional tailoring for under $1,500. But a comparable wedding gown? Oh, that price tag is in a whole different universe. The materials can be identical, the craftsmanship can be just as good, but the only real difference when you boil it all down is that one has the wedding label attached to it.
So, I know, seeing all this can be pretty disheartening. But here's the good news. You don't just have to sit there and take it. You don't have to be a victim of the wedding tax. The key is understanding the game, because once you do, you can start to play it to your advantage. So let's get into the smart playbook. So how do you actually beat this thing? Well, here are 4 key strategies. Number 1, be a little sneaky at first. When you're first reaching out to vendors, just ask for a quote for a large party or an anniversary celebration. Don't say the W word just yet. Number 2, do your homework. Get quotes from lots of different vendors. This gives you way more power to negotiate. 3, prioritize like your budget depends on it, because it does. Figure out what you truly care about most and put your money there. And finally, number 4, make the calendar your best friend. Getting married on a Friday or a Sunday or in an off-season month, that can save you an absolute fortune.
And this quote right here really just sums it all up perfectly. The goal isn't to be cheap. It's about being strategic. If amazing photography is the most important thing in the world to you, great, that's where you should spend your money. But in return, you can be super frugal on the stuff that matters less to you. You know, maybe you don't need the super elaborate party favors or a giant 5-tiered cake when a beautiful 3-tiered one works just as well.
So, what's the future look like? Is this wedding tax just a permanent part of life? Well, not necessarily. The wedding industry is actually starting to see some really interesting shifts, and it's all being driven by a new generation of couples who are basically rewriting the rulebook.
For starters, we're seeing this massive rise in things like micro-weddings and elopements. These are way less about putting on a huge show and way more about intimacy. Another huge game changer is the demand for price transparency online. It makes it harder for vendors to have one price for a party and another for a wedding. And more you see couples choosing to spend their money on unique experiences like hiring a cool food truck or a live painter instead of just on traditional stuff. All of these trends are shaking things up and really challenging that old expensive model.
And all of this really brings us to one final and maybe more important question. Look, navigating the wedding tax is a huge challenge, no doubt about it. But maybe its greatest value is that it forces us all to stop and ask, what really matters here? Because at the end of the day, after all the bills are paid and the confetti has been swept up, the things that truly make a marriage memorable, they're rarely the things that came with the biggest price tag.